Dr. Sharma Taylor is a Jamaican writer and lawyer, with guidance from eminent Caribbean writers including Wayne Brown, Jane Bryce, Dr. Erna Broadbent. Sharma's work has won numerous Caribbean and international awards, including the Wasafiri Queen Mary New Writing Prize and the 2020 Frank Collymore Literature Endowment Award and the Bocas Literature Festival's Johnson and Amoy Achong Caribbean Writers Prize. She lectured creative writing, prose fiction at the UWI Mona campus and is a fiction writing coach.
Before I went to high school, I wrote a story about this Rasta man on a bus and people ostracizing him on a bus. I think I may have been 10 at the time, and I showed the story to my mother, and she was blown away that I wrote it, and too bad I don't have it up to this day. But the fact that my mother, whose standards are very high, could read it and say, oh, she was impressed by something that I wrote, that for me was a moment. And then in about third form, when I was at St. Andrew High School, I remember I had a literature teacher called Miss Bala. She read my story. She said for the assignment we did, Sharma did a story and it was like the best story. And I remember she read it out and I was like, wow, this is something that I can do better than some other people. And that was a moment when I said, okay, I'd love to, when I grow up, this is something that I would really want to do. What was a turning point for me was after I finished my PhD and returned to Jamaica from New Zealand, I wrote a story about a woman who killed her husband and ended up in prison. And I remember Dr. Broadbent read it and she said, Sharma, this is a good story. Then I guess for me, that was where again it picked up to say, okay, let me return to this. This is something that I enjoy. This is something that people seem to like. You know, let me devote myself to that. And to be honest, if I asked myself the question in the prior 10 years or whenever, how I felt about life, I realized I wasn't feeling like myself, and I realized the reason was I had stopped writing. Because when I'm writing, I feel truly like myself and like I'm doing what I'm on earth to do. I write with our society in mind, and so I like to write about things happening in everyday life. I like to write about themes that relate to family, so belonging, love, loss, grief, betrayal, all of the things that relationships between people is what fascinates me the most. And so I find a lot of my work covers that type of theme. I'm not a full-time writer, I'm a corporate attorney. In fact, I think it's interesting when you can combine your writing with other aspects of things that you do. A lot of people want to write, but they don't make the time for it. So you have to sit down and carve out the time and actually produce words on the page. Once you've done that, it's very important to get feedback. I want to leave a legacy so that our people, our personalities, our voice, our way of life, our outlook is documented. I think I see my role as documenting our society, holding up a mirror, because again, the human experience is a human experience, no matter which culture you're from. And somehow, again, in that way, encouraging even more creativity, even more work, so that it can just keep going. Receiving the Musgrave Medal for Literature in the bronze category, it means everything to me. I've won prizes from other places and competitions, but this is the first thing I received from Jamaica, my country. So it's the most significant of all, the most meaningful of all. It's good to be recognized by your people. It's good where you have a bunch of people who say, okay, I see you, I recognize what you're trying to do. It's an encouragement to keep going with what I'm doing, and it means the world to me. It really does.
For her contribution to literature, the Council of the Institute of Jamaica is pleased to award Dr. Sharma Taylor the Bronze Musgrave Medal for merit in the field.